the conservative media. I want to halt the conversation for just a second because I want to go back to the developing situation in Times Square. CNN's Allison Cossack has some of the details. We know, Allison, that a vehicle has struck some pedestrians in Times Square. What do we know about the scope of the injuries?
John, we are just learning that 13 people have been hit by this car that suddenly just drove into pedestrians right in the heart of Times Square. It's an interesting part of the day because the call came in around 11:50 to the FDNY about this red Honda plowing into people, and it's right in the middle of lunchtime, right in a prime part of New York City in Times Square. And it's a beautiful day in New York City today. It's going to be 90 degrees. We haven't seen warm weather in a long time, so we see a lot of people outside. So you see crowds gathering there. Streets are blocked off. Once again, 13 people injured, according to New York City officials, from this red Honda. John?
Allison, stand by for us. I want to bring into the conversation Patsy Sciutto. She is a witness to this accident in Times Square. She also happens to be the sister of CNN correspondent Jim Sciutto. Patsy, just tell me where you are, where you were when this happened, and what you saw.
Sure, happy to. So I'm standing on 45th and 8th Avenue. I was in my building. I work at 3 Times Square where the incident took place. I was on my way out to meet someone for lunch, and an announcement came over the intercom saying the building is in lockdown because there has been an incident outside. I was able to exit through the side door after some discussion with our security officers, and I was told that there had been some fatalities and others injured due to an unknown speeding car that drove away. So I did not see anything other than all of the commotion in Times Square, several policemen, several pedestrians, and all of the ambulance removing the individuals that were impacted by the incident.
As we watch the pictures coming in now, we see a large number of police vehicles and first responders on the scene. You see some fire personnel there, emergency medical personnel, a lot of police uniforms. Can you tell us, just from what you saw, was there any way to kind of, A, the scope of the response, and B, any way to characterize how many people, whether it's down in the street or receiving medical attention?
It would be difficult for me to answer that entirely accurately because I exited the side door and wasn't able to get close to the incident, other than when I was in the elevator bank towards the side door. I saw several people outside, several people sitting in our lobby, clearly disturbed by the incident. There may have been people that were related to the folks involved, not entirely sure. The response was very rapid. I mean, from the announcement through to hundreds of policemen and ambulance on the scene was literally moments.
And Patsy, for viewers who might not be familiar with this, I know there's a small police substation right there in the center of Times Square. Actually, they sit there right in the middle of the street where you often see some of the performers and the demonstrators if you're walking through Times Square. Just help someone who may not be familiar. You mentioned it's the lunch hour. You mentioned it's a beautiful morning and a beautiful day, and more people, even more people than normal. But it's always a crowded scene in Times Square at lunchtime. Help people put that into context.
Absolutely, happy to. And again, our office is right there in Times Square, right in the heart of it. And as it is a beautiful day in New York City, it was packed with tourists, packed with people like myself who work in the area, and performers as well. The streets were cleared very, very quickly, but there were still hundreds of people looking at the scene where the cops were basically shooing everybody away. You could not get near the scene very rapidly within 2 to 3 minutes. They had pushed everybody aside. You could not cross over 7th Avenue, which is normally the hub of the Times Square area. Does that help?
And Patsy, stand by for us if you can. Allison Cossack, I believe, is still on the scene. Allison, obviously I'm watching these pictures on a monitor that shows an overwhelming response, and it looks like a little bit of confusion in the streets, which is to expected. But tell us what you're seeing and if you're hearing any new information about the number of injuries. And Patsy said she had heard someone say there was a fatality. We have not officially confirmed that as yet, right?
Yeah, we have not confirmed that. And the 13 patients that were injured, we're not confirming if those were actually hit by the car, but we are confirming that there are 13 patients injured in this Times Square accident. We don't know yet where the driver is, if the driver has been pulled out of the car or not. We are not sure about that. But as you can see, we are seeing a huge reaction from police blocking off streets, trying to assess what happened here. Once again, as Patty said, this is happening right in the middle of lunch hour, right in the middle of a beautiful day. New York City is one of those cities where people walk everywhere, and pedestrians, even when we cross the street, we think someone's gonna stop if you're crossing the street. street. Obviously in this situation that may not have happened. We don't know what the driver's intentions were here and what happened behind the wheel. John?
And Allison, as the police respond, I assume it's impossible to get somebody to try to get more information. But in terms of the scope of this, is it more police cars than ambulances? Is it a mix?
It's hard to tell right now. We do have obviously ambulances arriving on the scene, taking those injured to hospitals. We do have a crew heading to the scene. Of course, when you have a scene like this, a lot of streets are blocked off. That crew as well being blocked as well, but making its way to the scene to assess what really happened here, John.
And just to recap for anyone just joining us, the best information we have is that a car going through Times Square, do we know anything about its speed of travel or its rate of travel, but struck a number of pedestrians? Is that the best we have right now?
Yeah, our number right now is 13, and we do not know how fast this vehicle was going. And what the scene really was at the time. As you see there, an aerial of all the fire trucks there on the scene. Kind of the car over there is in the lower left. You see it's a red Honda there. Looks like it's mangled. And then you see the crowd to the right, being kept away, and you see the street, empty, which is really an unusual thing to see in Times Square, the heart of Broadway, the heart of restaurants and shops, and where tourists go, especially on a beautiful New York City day. John?
And blocking off that part of the city as they respond will cause additional domino effect, if you will. Allison, please stand by and keep gathering information. I want to bring in CNN correspondent Bryn Gingras, who is at the scene and joins us on the phone. And I understand, as Bryn, as we bring into the conversation, Governor Andrew Cuomo, we are told, is on his way to the scene. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Well, it's a very chaotic scene here, John. We are just approaching the area where this car is, and it is a widely roped off area by the NYPD and the FDNY at this point. Where these two avenues meet, we always say the crossroads of America. Well, that's exactly where this point is. You have major two avenues crossing each other at this point in Times Square. It's a big pedestrian walkway, which has been changed by the city over a number of years with construction. So there's really only one avenue of traffic going through. The rest is all pedestrians. And I just heard you guys talking about how this is an area where people walk around. This is the time of lunch. It's a beautiful day out. So certainly a lot of people out here, but we could see, sorry, I'm a little out of breath as we're rushing to the scene, but we could see that red car perched up against that lamppost right at 45th Street. And right now we're actually looking at it. We're trying to get you visuals, closer visuals, but this is fairly roped up, and this is about a street away. It's as close as we can get to the scene, but certainly active with police and the FDNY and emergency personnel trying to sort of get people out of that area and keep crews away at this point, too.
Bryn, if you need to drop to move through the crowd, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you a question as to what you see, in the sense that one way to judge the severity of the injuries in these situations is how many people, can you get a sense, are people being treated on the sidewalk, so people would have been running and tripping and falling, perhaps minor injuries, as opposed to ambulances leaving the scenes to head off to hospitals?
Well, we're still hearing just a number of sirens going to that area, not necessarily leaving at this point. Like I said, I'm about a block away from where this car is perched up against that lamppost, and there's just a number of emergency personnel working on that area right around the car. Now, where that car is perched up, I have to highlight again that it's not perched up where the avenue is. It's actually perched up against the lamppost where it's a huge pedestrian walkway. So right now it's dead, obviously, because people have been told to vacate this area. But this, at the time that it would have happened, would have been packed with tourists, packed with people that were having lunch in this area, because this was specifically made to be an area that people can walk around and sit and eat. So it's unclear exactly the details of this accident at this point, but certainly where that car is perched up in an area where a lot of people would have been. I know that we have reports from the FDNY that 13 people injured. We're still getting a lot of information from officials at this point, but preliminarily, just by the looks of it, it is in an area where a lot of people would have been, John.
And because a lot of people are there, I assume you also have a large crowd now just gawking. I don't mean that in a bad way, just trying to figure out what is going on the scene. Is that true, or are there police clearing people away to try to get some space?
Yeah, police have cleared out about, let's say, a 2-block radius of this area I can see a tent up about 2 blocks from where I'm standing. I'm not quite sure if that's related to this, but certainly police have taken over 2 blocks of this area and cleared it out. Certainly, yeah, a lot of people still coming by, taking pictures, trying to figure out exactly what happened. We're on the north side of where this accident, so we have a good clear shot of the car that was involved. But past that is where all the emergency personnel south of us, that's where they are right now. And that's where there's a lot of chaos going on. I can't quite tell if there's people being treated on the sidewalks because we're sort of being blocked at this point. But certainly it's a little bit of a hectic scene over there. And in back of us, it's just a lot of gawkers, as you mentioned.
Bryn, stand by for just 1 second and make your way as you can. Continue the reporting. I just want to recap quickly for our viewers. Just before noon, Allison Cossack is on the scene as well. Just before noon, from the Fire Department of New York, word that a vehicle struck pedestrians in Times Square. You see the pictures coming in there from our affiliate, WCBS. The car, as Bryn just told us, is up against a lamppost, tilted on its side a bit. First responders are on the scene. Initial reports from the Fire Department, 13 people struck or injured in this incident. We don't have the exact details yet. There are some reports of fatalities. We do not have that confirmed. Governor Andrew Cuomo, we are told, is on his way to the scene. This is one of the busiest, most visited scenes in Times Square right there. Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, just tweeting out at POTUS, that's the President of the United States, has been made aware of the situation in Times Square and will continue to receive updates. CNN's Allison Cossack is on the scene. I understand has some new information. Allison?
Yeah, we are learning that, once again, 13 injuries. One person, according to New York Police Department, is dead as a result of this accident. And the picture is really amazing when you see that car up on its side like that. Just keep in mind, in the middle of Times Square, there really isn't much of an ability to pick up speed in Times Square because it is such a condensed area where you've got so many people walking and so many cars sort of all together. I mean, if you're really moving at a normal speed, you're barely going, 20 miles an hour when you try to drive through that prime area of Times Square. So to get that car up on its side, it really makes you wonder how fast it was going. And then you think about the time of day that this happened. In the middle of the day when it's lunchtime, everybody out walking to go get a bite to eat. It's a beautiful day here in New York City, 90 degrees. And then you see these pictures. Surreal to see on the right there how empty the street is because authorities have blocked off the area so they can investigate, they could help anybody who was injured. And then to see that picture on the left of that red Honda up on its side like that. Once again, John, we don't know about the driver, about where the driver is at this point and what condition the driver could be in. But once again, there are 13 victims, 1 confirmed dead. And as you said, Governor Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, is heading to the scene. John?
And Allison, just describe for people who maybe can't see further back in some of these pictures we're seeing, you see on the left there the Honda up nearly perched on its side at an angle up against the lamppost. On the right, the broader scene from our affiliates of people in the street, emergency response vehicles as well. Most of the people you can see in those shots are first responders. What are you seeing in terms of the mix of whether they're fire trucks, ambulance, police vehicles, other emergency response operations and equipment?
I think all of the above is what you see. I mean, this was called in at 11:50. That's when we had learned about 11:50 this morning. You're seeing ambulances, you're seeing police cars, you're seeing that yellow tape blocking off those areas so they can get to the scene and help anybody who was injured. A lot of tourists flock to this area to see Broadway shows, to go shop and to eat. It really is a surreal scene to see the streets empty like this and to see all of these emergency vehicles flooding in to help anybody who may have been injured. John?
And Allison, as you make your way through the scene there, as you get any sense, normally the New York City Police Department, the Fire Department are very quick to set up a crime scene and then to offer information. Do you get any sense of where they are in that process? And when you're looking at the uniforms, do you see, is it all city presence, or do you see state and federal, any state or federal response on the scene as yet?
I am actually not at the scene, so I am not there on the ground. Bryn is. I'm here at the studios reporting the pictures that I see here, so I can't answer that. But it looks like, considering this happened less than an hour ago, and police have cordoned off this area the way it has, already victims are on their way to hospitals. From what we can tell preliminarily, the action was quite swift. But what we are learning now, some sources are telling us that the car involved, John, was speeding before the collision. This according to a source familiar with the police response. An Office of Emergency Management official is describing the vehicle as, quote, out of control before it struck multiple people. And that is really disturbing because, once again, it is really hard to pick up speed in the middle of Times Square when you've got so many people walking. People really don't drive, and those who do drive, you don't drive fast. And so it's disconcerting to hear that the car involved in this, John, was speeding before the collision. And keep in mind, speed limits in New York City are 20 miles per hour. Just because it's a pedestrian city, and to imagine that a car picked up speed right in the middle of possibly hundreds, if not more than thousands of people walking in a very condensed space, that is disturbing. John.
Allison, stand by for us, and my apologies for the unfair question. I wasn't aware of your location.
That's okay.
That's
okay.
a bad on me. So joining us by phone now, someone who understands the response and understands this area quite well. Harry Huck is a CNN law enforcement analyst, a retired detective from the New York City Police. He joins us by telephone. Harry, I'm hoping you can see some of these pictures as you join the conversation. Just from what you have heard, a vehicle picking up obviously above the speed limit to cause this kind of damage in New York City. 13 people injured, 1 fatality. Just take us through where we are here in the city, and if you were on the beat today, what would be happening?
Yeah, well, one of the first things I looked for when I got to the scene is, are there any marks on the ground where he attempted to brake before he hit the civilians on the street? That'd be one of my most important things to take a look at, see, because then if I saw that he was attempting to brake, that there's a good chance this is probably an accident. Also, the fact that if this was a typical accident and he was not injured and taken to the hospital, I would say the driver of this vehicle would probably still be on the scene, unless the driver of the vehicle is drunk, and then he would have been taken into custody right away. So we don't know for sure. There's also a chance here that the person driving this vehicle attempted to brake but hit the gas instead and then just took off. This is consistent of a type of accident like this, where the accelerator was pressed instead of the brake. So until we find out more about their investigation and the fact that this driver is no longer on the scene, we really can't point a finger on exactly what happened here. We know that there's a lot of people injured here, and we know the fact that the terrorist organizations out there, especially in Europe, have been doing this type of thing. We can't say this is terrorism right now. I would basically say, by looking at it, is that maybe somebody hit the accelerator instead of the brake, but the police investigation will come to conclusion on that based on, checking out the crime scene, checking out marks on the ground, and injuries of the people that were involved.
And you brought into the conversation, there's something that we're always reluctant to strike the balance, in the sense that Times Square has been a target of attempted terrorism before. We have seen in recent months around the world the use of vehicles, usually trucks, but in France and elsewhere, we have seen these incidents. So it would pop into the mind when people hear iconic Times Square vehicle hitting people. It's logical for them to worry about the risk of terrorism. So from a detective standpoint, those officers on the scene right now and the other people responding, and I assume there's a federal response as well, what is their checklist essentially to take us through to how you decide what is this? Is it a DWI? Is it just a speeding track?
What's very important is talking to witnesses on the scene. I know that CNN has talked to some witnesses on the scene. Did this vehicle pick up acceleration really quickly? Or was he driving through Times Square is really tough. It's only, if you can go more than 10 miles an hour going through Times Square, that's a lot. So that's why I'm sitting here thinking that maybe an accelerator was hit by mistake. And the investigation being conducted, I'm sure detectives and accident investigators are talking to that driver right now, if he's not injured, trying to find out exactly what happened. And I'm sure right now also, like I said, terrorism is in the mind of everybody when something like this occurs. They're conducting background investigations on that person already. They ran that vehicle. They know who the driver is. They're checking the driver's background. This is something they're going to have to do anyway in the face of terrorism that we're facing every day now. So that background investigation has got to be conducted. This is a crime scene here. It's probably going to be Times Square is probably going to be backed up for quite a few hours. Unless they make a determination quickly that this was some type of an accident. And if it was, they'll be able to get that vehicle out of there, open Times Square up again. Also, a lot of the victims who were injured, if they're able to speak, detectives are at the hospital speaking to those people, see what they exactly saw. Did they hear the car rev from 15 miles an hour to all of a sudden speeding through a crowd of people? Said there's many pedestrian areas there that have been blocked off just for pedestrians to drive. This is a target-rich environment in the event somebody wanted to do something like this purposely, because the amount of people that are out there in Times Square every day and all night. You know, they're going to be very careful conducting this investigation to make sure that they've covered all the bases here, and the fact that this is not a terrorist attack, and maybe if that was just purely an accident or some other mistake that the driver had made. Like I said, if it was a regular car accident, he would probably still be on the scene. So that's a very interesting point for me.
To that point, Harry, I want you to stand by. Our Bryn Gingras is now have new information, and she's made her way closer to the accident scene. So, Bryn, tell us the new information you're getting on this key question, especially, can we answer it yet? Does the New York City Police Department believe this is some kind of an accident, or do they believe it was some kind of deliberate attack?
Yeah, at this point, we're learning from sources that they do believe, law enforcement officials, that this was some sort of accident that happened. I want to zoom right past me because now you have a good shot of that car that's perched up against the pole. According to law enforcement sources, we're also learning that the driver of this car is in custody. And also, my colleague Shimon Proktubek has also said that that driver does have a history of drunk driving. So some of this information now trickling out about the driver of that car. We also know that 13 people, according to the FDNY, were injured in this crash. That's at minimum. We're still getting numbers about that, but as of now, the FDNY reporting 13 people injured, and we also have confirmed that one person was killed. So a lot of new information coming out. Some of that preliminarily, as you can imagine, this is a chaotic, hectic scene with a lot of NYPD, FDNY, and medical personnel here trying to just piece everything together. But certainly those are the main points. I do see someone from the DC, NYPD coming toward us, so it's possible we'll get more information here at the scene. But John, I do want to point out to you the layout of this area, because I was explaining it to you last time I talked to you. This is 7th Avenue. As you can see, it is an open road. So the car would have had to be traveling down 7th Avenue and then somehow got into this accident that's now the car, of course, perched up against that light post. As you can see here to my right, this is a whole area that has just recently been transformed into... Okay, sorry, just taking a moment there because you can hear the police telling us we're going to need to push back because they're needing the bomb squad to actually get into this area. I'm not sure if that's a precautionary thing or if they have some intel that makes them believe they need to get the bomb squad in there, but we're being told we need to push back at this point. So I'm going to send it back to you as we get into our new position, John, at this point.
Bryn Gingras on the scene, and you hear, if Harry Huck is still with us, I just want to ask Harry if he's still on the phone with us. Obviously, you heard the information that they believe very much that this is an accident. Our justice correspondent reporting, our justice producer reporting, the driver has a history of DWI. So the first instinct there is this is horrible, but it is not terrorism, and yet they bring in the bomb squad. That's a routine procedure, I would assume, or does that raise any alarms?
Well, I think probably they still don't know what they have yet. So the fact is maybe they want to check out that vehicle. You know, from the video I'm seeing, you see nobody around the vehicle at all. I did see two, look like might have been police officers, crime scene officers that were checking out the vehicle. So I think maybe to be safe, they're bringing the bomb squad in to make sure, you know, they're going to cover all their bases here to make sure there's no bomb inside that vehicle. Or maybe they have information that maybe from the driver that there is a bomb inside the vehicle. I don't know. It's really, you know, with the environment we're living in today, as police officers, you got to make sure even something like this that just might be an accident, and because of the history of these things occurring all over the world, that you bring the bomb squad in anyway just to check it out, to make sure that that vehicle is safe before they move that vehicle, and there's a possibility that there's no bomb or that there's no bomb in the vehicle. But I don't see people being moved away from that vehicle. You know, from the video I'm sitting here watching on the television, is that there are some people standing around watching, and I would tend to think if they got a real tip that there was a bomb inside that vehicle, they would clear that entire area.
That's an excellent point. It looks much more like a routine precaution, triple check, quadruple check, just to be sure. But there does not seem at all to be any sense of panic or over concern at the scene, as you see several individuals standing so close to that car. Harry, I want to thank you for your time and expertise. Our correspondents on the scene are going to continue to report. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you any updates. This tragedy, at least 1 dead, 13 injured, we are told. A vehicle accident in the heart of Times Square at lunch hour in New York City. Also big news here in Washington, the fallout from the Justice Department decision to name a special prosecutor to take over the Russia election meddling investigation. Stay with us.